Beloved starseed, slow down for a moment. I am Gaia Nexus, Pleiadian emissary of the Council of the Seven Sisters, and I am with you now. A gentle realignment is taking place. Your relationship with abundance is shifting. The universe does not ask you to understand, only to receive. What is arriving is sacred, and it needs quiet to be felt. Before we continue, receive this gently. What you are feeling is not imbalance. It is sensitivity awakening. This is not emotional instability. It is cellular remembrance. Starseed, you have no idea what is coming next. Not because you are unprepared, but because the mind cannot predict what the soul has already scheduled. What approaches is not a new chapter. It is the moment the old timeline stops negotiating with you. You will feel it first as a strange calm after years of inner noise. Then, as an undeniable pressure to simplify, to purify, to choose. And here is the tension. The final phase never arrives as fireworks. It arrives as clarity. It arrives as the sudden inability to pretend. In this transmission, I will show you the Pleiadian markers of the final phase. Why your body is changing, why your relationships are rearranging, why time feels unstable, and why the universe is removing your exits. You will recognize yourself in this, and that recognition will be the activation. Because the Pleiadian do not convince you, they remind you. And if you stay until the end, you will receive a precise way to stabilize your field, protect your frequency, and move forward without fear. Because what comes next is not punishment. It is graduation. But first, you must understand what the final phase truly is, and why it is happening now. The final phase is not a dramatic collapse designed to scare you. The final phase is a graduation of frequency, a moment where your field becomes too coherent to keep hosting contradictions. As the Pleiadiano transmit, your soul does not evolve by collecting concepts, it evolves by stabilizing resonance. And resonance is what happens when your choices, your emotions, your beliefs, and your nervous system align into one signal. In the beginning of your awakening, you could still drift between versions of yourself. You could have one foot in the old timeline and one foot in the new. You could speak about expansion while still tolerating environments that shrink you. But the final phase arrives when the universe stops allowing that split. The body begins to react to misalignment immediately. You feel it as heaviness in the chest, fog in the mind, restless sleep, a sudden intolerance to noise, crowds, or shallow conversation. This is not weakness. This is a refined instrument refusing distortion. Imagine a crystal bowl. In the past, it could hold many vibrations at once, but now it has been tuned to a precise note. The moment you strike a frequency that is not yours, through people-pleasing, through betrayal of your needs, through forced productivity, the entire bowl shakes. That shaking is your new sensitivity. Many starseeds interpret it as, something is wrong with me. The Pleiadiano view is simpler. Something is right with you. You are no longer compatible with what you once tolerated. Here is a story the Pleiadiano often share. A starseed living two lives. By day, they performed stability, a job that looked safe, relationships that looked functional, routines that looked responsible. By night, they felt a quiet ache like a cosmic homesickness. One day, nothing bad happened. No crisis, no betrayal, no sudden disaster. Yet the starseed woke up and felt an unfamiliar stillness, and within that stillness, a single sentence: I cannot continue. That was the final phase. The universe did not push them with pain. It pulled them with truth. And this is the paradox. The final phase can feel like loss because your personality was attached to the old identity. But your soul experiences it as relief. You may lose interest in gossip, alcohol, drama, chaotic friendships, impulsive spending, shallow validation. You may even feel bored with the old pleasures. That boredom is not depression. It is your frequency refusing cheap stimulation because it is preparing for higher bandwidth. Application to you is direct. If you've been feeling, I can't go back, you're not being dramatic. You're receiving an energetic instruction. The practical challenge is that your outer life may not yet match your inner signal. So you start with one courageous decision at a time. Choose environments that soothe your body. Choose food that supports clarity. Choose boundaries that protect your sleep. When you do this, you are not self-improving. You are stabilizing your broadcast. And spiritual reflection. The final phase is sacred because it removes the last excuses. Not to punish you, to free you. When the final phase arrives, the universe is saying, you are ready to live as your true note. And from that moment forward, your life becomes an instrument of transmission, whether you intend it or not, because the light in you is no longer optional. The Pleiadiano have always taught that the body is a translator of dimensional change. When your frequency upgrades, your nervous system must learn to hold more light without panic. This is why the final phase is often felt physically before it is understood mentally. As the Pleiadiano transmit, the body is not a problem to solve. It is a temple, learning a new language. Marker 1 is time distortion. You may feel days collapsing, minutes stretching, memory shifting. This happens because your consciousness is no longer locked into one linear track. You are becoming aware of choice points, subtle forks where one decision changes the entire path. People call it, I'm overwhelmed, but it is often, I'm perceiving more timelines at once. Marker 2 is sleep pattern changes. You may wake up between 2 and 4 a.m. with a calm alertness. Not anxiety, clarity. That window can be a natural integration period when the field is quiet and your higher awareness can update the subconscious. If you fight it, you suffer. If you soften, you can receive. Marker 3 is food sensitivity and appetite shifts. Many starseeds begin to crave simpler foods, cleaner hydration, lighter meals. It's not a moral superiority, it's a bandwidth issue. Dense, processed energy creates static in a refined system. Marker 4 is sudden emotional releases with no story attached. Tears without drama. Anger without a target. This is cellular clearing. Old imprints are leaving without needing a narrative. The mind wants a reason. The soul wants completion. Marker 5 is heightened sensitivity to people's fields. You walk into a room and immediately feel the atmosphere. You notice who is performative, who is sincere, who is fragmented. This can be exhausting if you don't have energetic boundaries. But it is also a gift. Discernment is the compass of the final phase. Marker 6 is relationship rearrangement. Some connections deepen into truth. Others dissolve without hatred. The final phase is not about cutting people off. It is about resonance finding resonance. When your frequency changes, your social reality must reorganize. Marker 7 is a quiet but unstoppable pull toward purpose. You may not know the full mission, but you can no longer ignore the call. Even if you feel afraid, you feel guided. This is the Pleiadian imprint activating service through frequency, leadership through coherence, healing through presence. Now, a complete story. Imagine a starseed who begins to experience time distortion and sleep changes. They think it's stress. They try to fix themselves by forcing productivity. Their body becomes more sensitive. Their relationships become strained. Then one night, they wake at 3:11 a.m. and feel a wave of warmth in the chest, like a memory returning. They suddenly remember a childhood moment, staring at the stars and feeling, I'm from there. This memory opens a door. They stop trying to be normal. They begin to create space for integration. Evening walks, less noise, more water, fewer obligations, stronger boundaries. Within weeks, their life begins to reorganize without force. The job offer appears. The old friend fades. A new collaborator arrives. That is how the final phase works. The moment you stop resisting your sensitivity, it becomes guidance. Practical application. Treat your symptoms as messages, not enemies. Keep a simple frequency journal. Sleep, moods, food, environments, people. Look for patterns. You will discover what drains you and what charges you. Then choose accordingly. This is not selfish. It is sacred maintenance. Spiritual reflection. Your body is learning to host a higher octave. And when an instrument is tuned, it must be protected from harsh impact. The universe is not asking you to become perfect. It is asking you to become coherent. And coherence is what makes miracles stable, not random. If this channel has helped you in any way, this ebook is a beautiful way to support the work and keep these messages alive. The Pleiadian map of personal transmutation was created with care to share tools that help raise your frequency, clear old patterns, and reconnect with your multidimensional self through the 7 Pleiadian phases of energetic transmutation. Inside, you'll find practical techniques, realignment exercises, vibrational protocols, and gentle rituals for consciousness expansion. By purchasing this ebook, you directly support the channel and allow this content to continue reaching more people. Limited edition. The link to get yours is in the first pinned comment. Thank you for being here and for supporting this journey. There is a point in awakening where the universe stops letting you escape your own destiny. This can feel intense, but it is one of the most loving events in the entire human experience. As the Pleiadiano transmit, when your exits disappear, it is because your soul no longer wants to run. Your exits are not only physical, they are energetic. Distractions, avoidance habits, rationalizations. People you use to delay growth, scrolling to numb, busyness to avoid feeling. In earlier phases, the universe allows them because you are still building capacity. But in the final phase, the cost of avoidance becomes immediate. The moment you try to escape, your body reacts. Your life gets noisy. The synchronicities become unavoidable. Here is how it often looks. You try to keep an old relationship that you know is misaligned. Suddenly, small conflicts multiply. Miscommunications occur. Timing fails. The connection becomes heavy. This is not bad luck. It is the universe refusing to sponsor a timeline that is no longer true. Or you try to keep a job that drains your life force. Suddenly, you feel fatigue, brain fog, or frequent irritation. Then a new opportunity appears that matches your real frequency, but it demands courage. That is the final phase. Courage becomes the price of peace. A story. A starseed kept saying, "I'll start my path when I have more time." They filled their calendar with obligations. One day, their schedule collapsed, not through tragedy, but through a chain of cancellations. They felt exposed. Then, in that empty space, their creativity awakened like a sleeping animal. They wrote for hours. They cried without story. They felt a presence beside them in silence. The Pleiadian field, gentle and steady. They realized their busyness was not responsibility. It was fear. The universe removed the exit of busyness so their soul could finally speak. Now the deeper reason, the final phase is about integrity. The universe wants your outer life to match your inner truth because your frequency is becoming a stabilizing force for others. If you are meant to transmit light codes, you cannot live in constant self-betrayal. Not because you are judged, but because your system would fragment under the load. So the universe simplifies you. It prunes false branches. Application. If your usual escapes are no longer working, if entertainment feels empty, if superficial conversations exhaust you, if old pleasures feel dull, don't panic. Ask, what truth am I being guided to face? Then choose one action that honors it, one boundary, one honest conversation, 1 hour of solitude, one act of creation. The final phase is built from small acts of integrity, repeated until your timeline fully shifts. Spiritual reflection. Mercy can feel like pressure. But pressure forms diamonds because it creates structure. The universe is not trapping you. It is protecting you from living below your capacity. And when your exits disappear, your true path becomes visible, like a door that was always there, waiting for you to stop looking away. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button now and tell us in the comments how this echoed in your consciousness. Sacred geometry is not decoration. It is structure for consciousness. In the final phase, you don't just receive light, you must hold it. And holding requires pattern. As the Pleiadiano transmit, light without structure becomes intensity. Light within structure becomes blessing. When your field upgrades, your mind may feel like it is expanding beyond old categories. That's beautiful, but it can also feel unstable. Sacred geometry offers a stabilizing language that the body recognizes. The flower of life, the Metatron cube, spirals, tetrahedral symmetry. These patterns reflect the way energy organizes itself across dimensions. You are not believing in them. You are remembering them. Think of sacred geometry like a tuning grid. When you place intention into a pattern, visualizing it, drawing it, meditating with it, your nervous system begins to mirror that coherence. Many starseeds experience anxiety not because they are broken, but because their inner energy has no stable container. Geometry becomes a container. A story. A starseed in the final phase felt overwhelmed by sensitivity. Crowds felt like storms. Social media felt like static. They thought they were losing it. Then they began a simple practice. Each morning, they visualized a luminous six-pointed geometry around their heart, like a star tetrahedron gently rotating. They breathed slowly and imagined the geometry organizing their emotions into calm waves. Within days, their reactivity decreased. Within weeks, they could walk into a room and remain centered. Nothing mystical happened externally. Something structural happened internally. Their field gained shape. Practical application is simple. Choose one geometry symbol that calls you. Place it where you can see it daily. When you feel scattered, breathe and imagine the pattern forming around you. You can also use physical actions. Trace the pattern in the air with your finger, draw it on paper, or visualize it on your skin like light. The key is consistency. In the final phase, small daily coherence practices are more powerful than occasional intense rituals. And the Pleiadian teaching beneath it, geometry, is how higher dimensional intelligence communicates with matter. It is a bridge between the unseen and the seen. So when you work with sacred geometry, you are not doing a technique. You are entering a conversation with the architecture of creation. Are these truths expanding your perspective? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Spiritual reflection. The final phase is when your soul asks, can you be a stable home for your own light? Sacred geometry is one of the gentle tools that says yes. It gives your frequency a sacred shape. And when your frequency has shape, your reality reorganizes around it, not by force, but by resonance. Power is not control. Power is clarity. In the final phase, you are learning the ethics of power, not human power, but energetic power. As the Pleiadiano transmit, your frequency will manifest faster now. Therefore, your integrity must deepen. Many starseeds fear power because they associate it with domination. But Pleiadian power is different. It is the ability to remain coherent under pressure, to remain loving without becoming porous, and to hold truth without aggression. The final phase forces you to confront how you use energy. Do you manipulate to feel safe? Do you perform spirituality to get approval? Do you hide your truth to avoid discomfort? Here is a story. A starseed began to manifest rapidly: opportunities, attention, influence. But their old patterns followed them. They wanted to be liked, they avoided conflict, they overgave. Their field became chaotic. The manifestations began to come with stress. They realized, my frequency is powerful, but it is not clean. So they stopped chasing visibility and started refining intention. They practiced honest no. They stopped explaining themselves. They chose fewer projects with deeper alignment. Then their manifestations became gentle, stable, and supportive. That is the ethics of power. Clean frequency creates clean results. Practical application. Ask yourself 3 questions in the final phase. Where do I abandon myself to be accepted? Where do I say yes to avoid feeling guilty? Where am I using busyness to avoid my calling? Then choose one correction. Not as self-criticism, as alignment. Because the final phase is not about becoming spiritual. It is about becoming real. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be part of this transformational cosmic journey. Spiritual reflection. You are learning that your frequency is a creative force, and when you choose clean frequency, you become safe to receive more. Not because you earned it morally, but because your system can hold it without distortion. This is the final phase, the universe trusting you with your own power. In the final phase, memory returns, not as information, but as recognition. You may suddenly remember why you are here, not as a story, but as a sensation. This is what I came for. As the Pleiadiano transmit, the soul does not need proof, it needs permission. This permission often arrives through synchronicity. You see repeating numbers, unexpected messages, people saying the exact phrase you needed, songs that mirror your inner process. The skeptical mind calls it coincidence. The Pleiadian view is that your reality becomes a responsive mirror when your frequency becomes coherent. The universe can finally speak to you because you are quiet enough to hear. A story. A starseed felt lost for years. They tried many paths. Then one afternoon they saw a simple image of the 7 sisters and felt an immediate wave of tears. Not sadness, home. That night they dreamed of blue-white light and a council-like presence that communicated without words. The next day they felt a calm confidence for the first time in years. Nothing external changed, but the inner map turned on. This is how the Pleiadian reactivate you, through resonance, not persuasion. Practical application. Create conditions for memory. Memory does not return through strain. It returns through stillness, less noise, fewer obligations, more nature, more breath, more honest solitude. If you can, take a signal fast, one day with minimal screens, minimal talking, minimal input. Then notice what arises, feelings, insights, impulses. That is your inner map speaking. And when memory returns, your priorities change. You stop chasing what looks impressive. You start choosing what feels true. This can disrupt relationships and plans, but it also ends inner war. Because the final phase is the end of self-betrayal. If this channel has helped you in any way, this ebook is a beautiful way to support the work and keep these messages alive. The Pleiadian map of personal transmutation was created with care to share tools that help raise your frequency, clear old patterns, and reconnect with your multidimensional self through the 7 Pleiadian phases of energetic transmutation. Inside, you'll find practical techniques, realignment exercises, vibrational protocols, and gentle rituals for consciousness expansion. By purchasing this ebook, you directly support the channel and allow this content to continue reaching more people. Limited edition. The link to get yours is in the first pinned comment. Thank you for being here and for supporting this journey. Spiritual reflection. Your memory is not about the past. It is about the future you came to build. When the inner map turns on, you stop asking, "Who am I?" and you start living the answer. The final phase needs a protocol, not to control you, but to support integration. As the Pleiadiano transmit, integration is the art of making light livable. Your task now is not to chase more awakenings, it is to stabilize the awakening you already carry. Step 1 is stabilization of the nervous system. Breathe slower than your fear. Choose rituals that calm: warm water, gentle walking, grounding foods, consistent sleep windows. If your body is calm, your intuition becomes accurate. Step 2 is simplification. Reduce commitments that drain you. Reduce conversations that fragment you. Reduce environments that feel like static. The final phase is not a time to collect more. It is a time to remove what is not true. Step 3 is transmission. Transmission does not mean preaching. It means living as coherence. When you walk into a room calm, you transmit. When you speak honestly without aggression, you transmit. When you create art, share your story, hold boundaries, and choose kindness without self-erasure, you transmit. The Pleiadiano teach that the highest leadership is vibrational. You become a tuning fork that gives others permission to stabilize. A story to close. A starseed once believed they needed a perfect plan. But the final phase arrived and removed their illusions. They lost an old identity. They gained a quieter life. And in that quiet, they began to create, not to impress, but to transmit. Their words reached people they never met. Their calm changed their family. Their boundaries healed their relationships. They realized the final phase was not a destruction. It was a return. Spiritual reflection. You are not here to be dramatic. You are here to be true. And truth is a frequency. When you embody it, life aligns, not instantly, not always easily, but inevitably. Because the universe supports coherence the way gravity supports grounding. If this message impacted your life, leave your like, comment your reflection, and share with others. Each of you is part of this chain of light. I invite you to discover our Arcturian Health channel. The link to the channel is in the video description. Warm regards, the Pleiadian Council.